Meteorological autumn began on Saturday, and even though it doesn't feel like it just yet, it's hard not to think of the signs of the season ahead. But did the excessively wet summer in Pennsylvania take a bite out of our favorite fall fruits? We'll let you know how you'll like them apples in this week's Earth Beat. Farmers are arguably the group of people that are most affected by day-to-day weather, and that includes fruit growers and orchard owners. I turned to Dr. Rob Crassweller, a deciduous fruit tree expert in Penn State's Department of Plant Science, who has made a Weather World appearance before. We spent some time out in Penn State's teaching orchard a few miles off campus to compare apples to apples, and believe me, there are a lot of them.
Well, this farm's been here since the 60s, and we've had apples on this ground since then. I know I've got over 100 different varieties out here.
Wow.
And yeah, that's not just, I mean, there's what we call cultivars and strains, and a cultivar is a variety, but then there can be multiple strains of that variety. So for example, in Delicious, there's over 250 different strains of Red Delicious, but they're all sold as Delicious.
Whether it be Red Delicious or Granny Smith or Honeycrisp, you name it, production of apple trees comes down to several weather-related things, and it all starts with the sun.
Really, the whole thing, you should consider an apple tree as trying to capture sunlight. That's all we're trying to do is the more sunlight we can capture, the more fruit we'll get.
This principle has actually led to a change in the way that apples are being grown. The old vision of a big, tall, wide, bushy apple tree is slowly being phased out.
One of the things that drives how these new systems, these new apples look. If you remember the old style apples, you know, they're used ladders, got up, and if you look at them, there'd be, you know, a very outside mantle would be very productive, but the inside would be very little production or very poor quality because you didn't get enough sunlight in there. Like I said, you reach into the trunk, and it should be, you know, no deeper than from your shoulder in. And that way you know you're getting maximum sunlight. If it's deeper, then anything beyond my reach of my fist is not going to get sunlight, it's not going to be productive. So we're trying to maximize, so that's why we train the trees this way, keep them much more open than we used to.
And as we get to the time of year when temperatures begin to drop, but quite a bit of sunlight remains, anthocyanins, or the red pigments, begin to show up and color the fruit. Weather that favors good autumn color in the woods will also favor good apple color. And that is actually not necessarily only on the outside. Dr. Crassweller introduced me to a variety of apple called the pink pearl.
Yeah, if we look at this is a green apple, and you look at it, you know, you'd think, well, it's going to be white or flesh inside, and in reality, when we cut it, this is a little not as good as it could be because the temperature is still a little warm, but you're going to get a pink color in there.
Now, for much of central and eastern Pennsylvania, the record or near record wet summer of 2018 was not just problematic based on the amount of rainfall, but also the frequency. Many locations observed measurable rain on at least 40 of the 92 days in meteorological summer, which averages out close to every other day. And that brought on more problems than just a lack of sunlight to color fruit.
We're trying to keep the weeds down, and so we use herbicides. And herbicides respond to moisture. And if you have a lot of excess moisture, it's going to wash that herbicide right through, and it's not going to be as effective. So a lot of our weed control has not been as good because of that. You get a lot of early season rain, we get a disease called apple scab. That's some of the diseases, they love moisture. And so consequently they get the moisture, the rain, and the disease explodes. And again, the other problems we had is because it's rained so often, you can't get out and spray. You can't get on to put something, a protective fungicide on.
Now what about the important part, the taste? An overabundance of rainfall can easily affect the taste of summer stone fruits such as plums and peaches. But apples? Well, we just may be in luck.
Typically, it affects stone fruit more than it does apples. There's so much more water to a stone fruit. When you think of a peach, the idea of a peach, when you bite into it, it just gushes down. But what happens this year when we've had so much rain, we get so much water into the fruit that the concentration of sugar is so much lower.
Soggy summers do have one benefit though, minimal irrigation needed. and in fact, move over overhead irrigation, Dr. Crassweller introduced me to a new method of irrigation with the goal of conserving moisture.
Now we have trickle irrigation in here, drip irrigation. And you can see it's very specific. It's a very site-specific area. It's only going out at certain places. Whereas we had the overhead irrigation, wetted all the grass, everything. Now we can conserve moisture by using this and just irrigate right where the roots are.
That is just one of the many ways that Dr. Crassweller is devoted not just to growing a bumper crop of apples, but to find ways for orchards to evolve based on advances in knowledge and technology.
But so we look at varieties, look at how they perform, look at rootstocks, we look at training systems, and try to come up with the most economical, most labor efficient production system we can.
If there was a way to order up the perfect sequence of weather to optimize the apple crop, it comes down to 4 steps. No late frost in the springtime, temperatures ranging from 50 to 70 degrees as trees reach peak bloom, about a ½ inch to an inch of rain per week through the spring and summer months, and crisp nights returning by early September. The research and teaching will continue to go on at Penn State's 50-plus year apple orchard, maintaining a focus on efficiency and productivity. But as often is the case, Mother Nature can find ways for the weather to be rotten to the core. We'll be right back.